What we know right now is that our accession protocol has been put as an item on the agenda of the Turkish Parliament, the Grand National Assembly, today, and that means that we could have a vote within the next days. But again, this is up to the Grand National Assembly. But the fact that we have now moved on from the committee stage to an actual scheduled vote, or that the vote will be scheduled in Parliament, is of course a good sign. We also expect now Hungary, the other country who still hasn't ratified Sweden, to move. And when those two countries have ratified Sweden, when the documents have been deposited in Washington, and we have deposited our document as well, we will be full members of NATO.
What is the timeline then?
Well, hopefully we will see a progress within the Grand National Assembly, but I'm not in a position to say this and this date, but that we are on the schedule for this week, that is a certain fact.
So is it realistic to assume that this is actually likely to happen within the first quarter? Do you think that all the pieces of the puzzle are being put together to allow for a positive assessment within the next 3 months?
I hope so, and I think that it is reasonable. Sweden has fulfilled all its commitments that we undertook at the summit in Madrid, which was confirmed at the NATO summit in Vilnius. We have done everything that was expected of us. We also know that once we arrive and once we are ratified, we are very welcome members of the NATO. We will bring more safety for NATO, and Sweden will be safer within NATO. We will bring well-equipped troops and well-trained forces to the table, and we will bring capabilities when it comes to cyber, AI, and also, of course, space, which I think will be very welcome by NATO.
Let's turn to Ukraine. We actually heard from President Zelensky himself earlier today. I moderated a conversation on Ukraine as well, and there's a school of thought suggesting that the EU, that the US, are failing in their support for Ukraine. Do you agree with that assessment?
I would like to put it this way: we definitely have to step up, and two things has to be dealt with within the next weeks and months. And that is the US support, of course, which is now being stopped in the US Congress. That needs to be brought forward, and we hope that that will be the case. That will be bipartisan support for this, because without that military support, it will be very difficult for Ukraine. That stands to reason. Secondly, the EU has to deliver our macro-financial support, which should have been decided in December, but is now scheduled for the 1st of February. And the opinion of the Swedish government is that this has to be brought through at one stage, and we have to do this, because without that support, it will also be difficult for Ukraine. And then one final point I would like to add. We also have to understand that this war is going to be protracted. That means that the European Union has to scale up our military production to match the US. And we have to show proper appreciation for what the United States and what the American people have done with the support to Ukraine. And the best way to do this is to scale up our own military support. And Sweden is doing so with our defense industry, and we call for all other European member states to do the same.